Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. Now, first of all, can you actually hear the rain going on? It's so wet today, so it was a good job that I chose to film a video today, a sit down video, because it means I don't have to go outside for a while. But today is Monday the 30th of April, and yesterday on my story I asked you guys, what would you like to see in today's video? Would you rather see a what I eat in a day, or what would you rather me talk about why I chose to quit competing? And I was actually really happy that you guys said I really want to see a why I chose to quit competing video, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I haven't talked about. There's a load of things that I want to say, and so hopefully in this video I want to be really like open and honest and cover so much about why I chose to quit competing and why I feel like it is and was the right thing completely for me to do. Now, first of all, I want to talk about my brief competing journey so far, for those of you who didn't know. So I started competing about 3.5 years ago, and before that I was quite overweight, and I lost a little bit of weight just through cardio and just basically being in a calorie deficit without knowing it. And I actually started dating a personal trainer, and he was actually really into bodybuilding, and I had never really heard of bodybuilding. I'd seen like the big guys in the weights area, but I'd never really taken notice of people doing competitions. And through his world and me kind of understanding about competitions, first of all, I was really like, oh my gosh, why would you wear such an orange mahogany tan on stage in a bikini? Like, what are they, strippers? And then when I went to a competition, I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I found it really motivational, and I'm gonna be like completely honest that I was quite sad. Just generally in my life at the time, I didn't really have much going on. I had a job as a teacher. I felt really lost. I felt really self-conscious, not really motivated, didn't really have a good group of friends around me. And so understanding about this new thing that I was fascinated about, I was loving fitness. I was loving, you know, training, and to be honest, dieting just went hand in hand with that. And because I didn't have much else going on, it was quite easy to eat out of a Tupperware box. I was quite one-track minded. I needed to eat 5 meals a day, protein and fats mainly, and green veggies, and a real restrictive diet. And over the years I dieted down, and I did quite well in my last year competing, which was not last year, the year before, in 2016. I won the Northwest for the 3rd time in a row. I competed at the Europeans. I won the English Grand Prix, and I placed in the British Championships, which was always my aim. But with that and every competition that went past, I had more and more reservations about the whole thing. I'd become very obsessed. And so I want to talk about 5 main things why I chose to quit competing, and I want to try and cover as much as possible within those things. I actually was in a traffic queue this morning when I was coming back home, so I did write them down. It was a very long traffic queue, and I was in a queue and stopped still because there was an accident, so I don't think I was driving and typing, but I did write down a few little notes about what I wanted to say. So the first thing also that I covered just now, the first thing is no life. So having no social life, being so consumed by competing and having to eat a certain amount of meals a day. So I thought that you had to lose weight, and I'm not just talking about the meals and not being going out to eat and drink with friends. I am talking about things like not being able to go out to the cinema late at night, not so you can have pick and mix and popcorn, just because you're gonna be getting in like say 11, that might affect your sleep. You know, you'll be even more tired, not even just the food that you're eating, just more tired from lack of sleep the next day. I did suffer from insomnia quite a lot, so that was a main factor. You know, I was in bed by 8 o'clock. You just want to live like a hermit. So that was the number one thing. No social life, kind of alienating friends, having this overwhelming thing in your life, so you become quite selfish. So that was the one thing, my first thing. So leading on to the second point of why I quit competing, it was this obsession with the way that I looked. I remember when I lived at my mum's house and was competing, and towards the end of competing, my mum has supported me my whole life. She's supported me when I left my job and chose to be an influencer, social media, whatever you call it, full time. She supported me financially when I needed it. She supported me in every single stage when I've suffered like emotional heartbreak and bad periods in my life. But it came to a stage with competing, even though she came to every single show and she was like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to do this? And I found, even though I wouldn't say I had mental health problems, my mental health suffered. I was obsessed with every single little bit of imperfection. I didn't look at any positives. So there was one point I remember coming downstairs and I must have been, you know, 7 stone wet through. And I came downstairs in the kitchen and I just made a coffee in the morning, and I was like, I just like poked up this little bit of my arm and was like, oh God, I feel so fat. And I heard myself saying it, and I just thought, what are you actually saying? I was so lean, and my mum looked at me like, she just looked at me. She didn't say anything, she just looked at me like, is this really what it's come to? And so that complete obsession with the way that you look. And to be honest, like anyone else, I went into fitness because I wanted to inspire people, and I wanted to tell people that, you know, whatever you look like, that is cool. And even though you may be on a fitness journey, you may be on like a body journey where you have these goals and where you want to be, you should be comfortable with the way that you were and are. And I didn't feel like that in myself, so I felt like I was saying something online and feeling myself something else. So obsession with the way that I looked was my second point where I knew that I needed to stop competing. So my third point was damaging my body. I actually didn't know for years how it felt to feel well. By well, I mean not suffer from extreme tiredness. I had severe IBS as well, and I now know, looking back, that if you eat exactly the same foods, I'm talking like turkey, almonds, green veg, normally like green beans, for every single meal of the day for months and months and months at a time, your body is just going to be like, oh, you know, it's not having any change. And I remember it was like 2 weeks out from the English Grand Prix, and my coach at the time was like, okay, you do need to have a few carbs inside of you, do you need to carb up a little bit because you're starting losing too much weight, too much muscle mass, a little bit skeletal. And so I remember I had 2 bagels in the day. Bearing in mind, I hadn't touched bread, for example, for I can't even remember. So it was like this refeed day, and I am not joking, my stomach swelled up like I was 7 months pregnant, and I was in bed with agony and stomach pains. And at the time I thought, oh gosh, it's because bread is evil. But now I know, now eating bread, you know, once, twice a day, every single day, that it's not the bread that's evil, it's almost your body becoming intolerant to normal foods, because I was so restrictive. So there was that. I suffered from a little bit of hair loss as well, looking haggard, tired, bags. And because I was so focused on the way that my body looked, I suppose, that I just forgot about like my hair and the state of my eyes and, you know, my skin complexion and my glow. And I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, but it's so true. Like, you become so focused on every single little bit of fat that you've got inside of you and or on the outside of you, and you forget about the things that actually people look at when you're not completely naked and you're actually wearing clothes. And I did look like a zombie at quite a few stages, and to be honest, you can have a look at me looking like a zombie because I did a whole prep series on YouTube, and I remember people reaching out to me, and it was just before I competed at the British finals, and that was like my last video before I stopped competing, and they were like, God, you look so sad. And I was sad. I was really sad. Emotional wreck. Okay, we are gonna go to number 4 and 5. Number 4 is about the judging of the shows. Now, this may be controversial, but to be honest, I don't really care because I'm not in it anymore, and even if I was, I'm really have never been afraid to speak my mind, and sometimes I suppose that may get me into trouble. But all on competing and a lot of the shows, especially in the federation that I was in, UKBFF, I found that if you didn't go to a specific posing coach, or you didn't have a specific coach as a coach, that you were going to be marked down. And if you just look at it like a black and white thing, you look at the judges and you've dieted for like 16-20 weeks, you've put your life on hold to stand on stage, maybe not get the same time that everyone else has got, the fair judging that everyone else has got, and then when you're on stage, some of the judges may be like on their phone, some of them may be biased towards a specific competitor, and also you just kind of look at the judges and you're like, what qualifications have you got to judge my hamstring glute tie-in? You know, what am I doing here? Why am I leaving everything in my life? Why am I putting my life on hold to stand on stage for 30 seconds to be judged by you? That's kind of, when I got to the end point, I was like, there's got to be something wrong here. Why do I care so much about what you think? And that might be a little bit controversial, but you know, whatever. I think it was that comparison thing as well. Even though people say you should do it for you versus you, in the end of the day, we're all being judged. Is that what I wanted to portray? Wasn't sure anymore. So that was my number 4. Okay, my number 5 as well. This is probably my most interesting point, is because there really is no money in competing. And I know people get funny about when we talk about money, but this is actually my job now. Social media and being an influencer, being sponsored by brands, doing collaborations, launching my own, say, ebook, the SoFit plan. This is my life. And actually, competing takes up a whole load of your life, and actually it's an expense competing. It's the bikini, even if you get a bikini sponsor, it's a whole load of food, it's, you know, the tan, it's the makeup, it's the time, it's the travel to get there, and actually it doesn't really pay off in the long term. Maybe I would say that your engagement on social media may increase, but to be honest, during the end and when I was stick thin, really lean, I'm not sure if it was targeting the right audience. It's the same as expos at the moment, and this is another controversial subject, but if you look around at the kind of people that go to expos, even though I was one of them, maybe it's not the type of typical person that has a job and just wants to eat well, doesn't want to be like super lean, just wants to have, you know, look good naked and eat well and feel good the majority of the time. And competing doesn't really target that, because it's like it's an extreme sport. And yes, as well, I get the challenge because I did it, and I get that it's like a you versus you challenge. But if you want to make a career and business out of it, and like I am doing now, it's so much more how it fits into your lifestyle. So I would say in the end, competing for me started to be a negative in terms of like my business and where I wanted to grow and appeal to the right people. So I would say that was really my number 5, that I felt like my whole ethos and brand was moving away from competing, not necessarily in that world anymore. So I really hope you've enjoyed that video, and I hope you've liked my honesty. As always, I really like to be honest about everything, and if you want me to kind of elaborate on any of the points I talked about in this video, make sure you drop it in the comments below, and I'm quite willing. I love these types of videos where I can just like sit and talk to you guys. It feels really personal, and I will see you very, very soon.